take note of the scale of this painting and the large scale in particular of it. You know, this isn't the small, intimate, little abstract painting that we often see now. This is a large-scale painting done at a time in America when abstraction was the defining element of American art. And this notion of creating a large painting in which, from even a distance, you're immersed in that painting, in which you sometimes even lose the edges of the painting out of your peripheral vision and become part of the painting, was a big and important idea when Diebenkorn made this in the 1950s. So you want to view it from a distance, which you do upon approaching the room, but then you want to come within a reasonable distance of the painting. Always be sure to stay about arm's length away from the work, but I think even at that length, you can get a really great sense of that time in which Diebenkorn was painting this work. And imagine him right up in that canvas, painting these shapes and colors and being completely immersed in this surface and what it was doing, how it was pushing and pulling on him emotionally. It's been suggested that this is an aerial view of Urbana. This was when he was working at the university there. And whether or not it's an aerial view, we don't quite know. We do know that Diebenkorn, more often than not, based his, what we would call pure abstractions, on the observed world. Right? So they're not just coming completely out of his head. It's not completely and pure expression. It's based on something observed. And so we start to think about what individual components might be here. And we start to try and recognize pieces and parts of it. And at a certain point, we have to decide whether or not we can, and then subsequently whether or not that's actually important to our experience of the painting, or did he really want to draw our attention to these magnificent combinations and relationships between particular shapes, lines, colors, the layering of paint in particular areas, and what color is underneath another color. How did he build up this surface? Where are the areas of thickly painted canvas, and where are the areas in which it's thinner? An interesting thing about the color in this painting is that he wasn't in Urbana long. He had gone there to teach at the university from New Mexico, where he'd gone to college there. His paintings in New Mexico, although many of a similar scale to this, were of those colors that we understand as being particular to that region of the world, the Southwest. There were a lot of browns and whites and black lines. And by the time he gets to Urbana, he starts working with a much more boldly hued palette. And this is a transitional period. Diebenkorn's best known work happened once he went from Urbana out to California and started painting with those colors in that palette that we might more readily associate with the West Coast, right? Especially California, those beautiful blues and whites and very bright colored paintings.